On YouTube. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. It's the It's Not Soccer, It's Football YouTube channel. Joined as always by my trusty co-host, Mason Sheffield. Also joined by Todd Webster this week. Todd, I'll let you go ahead and talk and give us a little background on how you kind of became a Tottenham fan.
All right, so just a quick correction. I feel like there's some friendly banter going. My last name is Webber, but I just want to say that I'm a Tottenham fan because I had a really good friend take me to a game, and when I went to that game in Nashville and saw Man City in Tottenham, we got to go the night before and go to the Legends Night and hear from King, the defender, and it was great. We did the pub crawl the day of the match, and being able to meet guys from London, learn all the songs, and then get to go into the stadium there in Nashville at Nissan Stadium and then sing all the songs there. It was great. I have a good friend who's a member of the Knoxville Spurs, Andrew Dorsey. He's the one that introduced me to him. And because of that, I got this awesome shirt from Minneapolis Spurs because he's got a buddy up there. So it's been a really cool brotherhood to jump in, and I also really like the way Pochettino developed from within and did great things.
Awesome. Definitely appreciate that. I just posted the link to this in the Facebook page. So if anybody sees that on Facebook, feel free to comment and ask us any questions you want us to answer. That link will be out there on the Premier League Central Arkansas Facebook page. So we will go ahead and jump right into it. Thought we would go ahead and jump right into it. Apparently Facebook had other ideas. All right, so the first game we're going to talk about from this past weekend is the Everton-West Brom game. As both Mason and I discussed last week, we expected big things from Everton. Of course, West Brom is West Brom, but still a very good performance from Everton. Saw James Rodriguez get his first goal in the Premier League. Go over the lineups real quick. Obviously, Everton had that front three that is going to be very dangerous. So Rodriguez, Calvert-Lewin, and Richarlison. Allen had another strong game in the midfield along with Decore. And of course, Digne is always good getting down on the side. Really not a lot that West Brom could have done in this game. They played about as good as they could have, I felt. But, Everton just had a little more quality in the end. No matter how hard West Brom plays and how hard they run, at the end of the day, there's just a little bit of a talent deficit, I feel like. Y'all have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, we were expecting big things from Everton. They came through strong. I hope the best for West Brom, but this one wasn't a shocker. I'd say the 5 goals maybe was a shocker, but it's curious how much that red card actually impacted the game, because until then it was pretty close score-wise. Moving forward, we'll see what West Brom can do to make up for it, but I don't think Everton are going to be pulling the foot off the gas anytime soon. So we'll see what happens.
I think it's pretty crazy for somebody to jump right in from another league and score in the Premier League. Regardless of what team you're playing, a change of country like that, I mean, I guess a field is a field anywhere you go, but that's pretty cool to see James just come right in, do his thing, get his goal. I was pretty excited about that one. I don't know anything about West Brom at all. I just know that James was from it, and to watch some of the games that Everton has played against Tottenham, like, that's a club that's going to come out and really run hard. And the only question mark that I consistently have about Everton is Pickford. He makes some crazy great saves, and then he makes some really, in my opinion, like, how did you just miss that?
He got a little bit of De Gea in him. Yeah, he got a little bit of De Gea in him. Go ahead.
But that's what I got from that game, was just like, Everton was picked to beat this. That there's no reason why they, like, it was their game to lose, to be honest. And once that red card went out, then good gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. Next game, Leeds and Fulham. I mean, this was a fun one. Anytime you get 7 goals, you can't complain. I think Phillips had a great game bossing that midfield again for Leeds. Bamford is a quality striker up front. Of course, Mitrovic, finally started and got his goal tally started with a couple of them. Just a really fun, open back and forth game. Really felt like the difference came down to Phillips and Rodrigo played a little more solid in that midfield for Leeds. Fulham has some solid weapons up front, but I felt like Leeds just had a little more effort and a little more in the midfield. Mason, you have anything on this
one? Yeah, I guess I was a little shocked to see Mitrovic suddenly back. I'm assuming he just had something going on week 1, but I assume he's back to being their man moving forward. This was a fun one to watch. Dude, these newly promoted sides, there's a trend that they always seem to take, and it's that they can't defend, but they know how to score. That's what got them here. And I believe at this point, the newly promoted teams have allowed something like, it's like 18 or 20 goals or something like that in 2 games, between the 3 newly promoted sides. So these are teams that are going to get banged up on. They're going to get scored on, but teams like Leeds, they're going to do their scoring as well. They seem really strong as far as their tactics go. Fulham surprised me a bit. I was expecting Leeds to more blow them out. All to Fulham. I hope they can keep it up, because they're going to need to score a lot if they're not going to defend.
Absolutely. You got anything, Todd?
Not a whole lot. I mean, just to echo what Mason said, is that there's big question marks on both these teams for center backs. I don't understand. Whenever as a defender myself, whenever I see 7 goals in a game, it kind of racks my brain. But I just want to give a shout out to Jez Rogers and make sure that you're still alive out there, because as a Leeds guy, you keep on talking about it, and that you probably had some heart pounding issues on that one.
Absolutely. So before we get into what I'm really going to not enjoy, we had a comment on Facebook to discuss James Rodriguez. Yeah, we touched on him earlier. Listen, I think Everton got the steal of the transfer window. I think this is only the beginning as he adapts to the physicality of the Premier League and learns how to kind of shrug off some of those challenges. I think that the sky's the limit with this guy. He's going to be dangerous on free kicks. He's just doing everything for them right now. And when you have 2 strikers like Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin to feed, I think he is just going to feast all season long. Appreciate that comment. I guess now, unfortunately, we will get into it. I have delayed the inevitable as long as I could. Time to discuss Manchester United. Listen, it was not a fun game to watch, and it started early with some very, very, very shoddy defending by the man right here in this picture, Mr. Lindelof. He was spinning like a top all day. I do not know why he is still starting for us. I said repeatedly, center back, center defensive mid, and Sancho on the wing is what we have to get done. Van de Beek was a good signing. I'm glad we got him. He came in and played well. He got a goal. At the end of the day, the spine of your team has to be solid. Matic is just a little too old to be counted on every game. McTominay is not a championship winning level holding midfielder. I think he's better as a box to box and is still young and needs to develop. And we just can't trust Fred in big games. And United did this a little bit last season during the restart. We lost to Palace, last season. And then we would beat, Liverpool and get points off Chelsea. And so, I'm very unhappy about the result. I was kind of worried about it. We had a pretty tumultuous off season. Paul Pogba just getting over coronavirus, not in shape. Bruno Fernandes just got back to England this week from the birth of his child. Harry Maguire obviously had his incident, as did Mason Greenwood. Neither one of them were back with the team. Luke Shaw was just coming back from injury. Wan-Bissaka and Matic were already out with injury. This is why those signings are so important, and this is why the teams that got help in and got it in early started off rolling. And you kind of carry that momentum. You could even kind of, with Liverpool and with Tottenham, they both seem to really play well. Even though their new signings weren't playing, it's just kind of a lift to the club to know that you have that positive mindset and you're moving forward. And I think that dragging out these signings has bit us once again. And, hopefully they'll be able to get it together. I also, like I said, I think it's a combination of the signings, not getting in time, and not having a proper preseason because we played late in Europa League and then didn't get guys back in time because of injury and other reasons. So it was not fun to watch. That's what I got. Todd, you got any thoughts on this one?
I've got a lot of thoughts on this one, especially when you talk about signings and you talk about a Tottenham fan and the frustration about signings. One thing that I don't know what happened with Zaha. I know that there was transfer rumors for him to come to y'all a while ago, but dude lights up whenever he plays Man United. I don't know if he's trying to impress scouts and say, hey, buy me over here. But he has games that it's just lightning in a bottle when he plays you guys. I enjoyed this one because it was a fun game the whole time. I think that Crystal Palace could have had more. It's just you have De Gea. The question that I have is, like, how do you pay Maguire as much as you did and then not find him somebody that knows how to play center back next to him? I don't do that. Like, maybe I'm just picking on somebody I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about Man United. Maybe I just don't like Man United. Maybe that's what it is.
You may not like Man United, but you're spot on. Victor Lindelof is not going to be playing as starting center back for any club that wins the Premier League. I think we can all agree on that. He probably won't even be starting every game for many clubs that finish top four. So he's just not good enough, and we have to get somebody else. I completely agree.
But to go back to last season, I mean, like, this looks a little bit about like what Man United did before you got Bruno. Bruno is a game changer. You need him on the field. Like, he is definitely the vision that you need on your team to put the ball where it needs to go. I think that's the big change that I saw on the field, because when you have Bruno, you've got a lot of movement to where that ball doesn't get, like, Lindelof doesn't make those mistakes because the ball never gets there, right? He makes better decisions in the center, and you don't lose the ball everywhere across the field.
Yeah, I agree. And that was one thing uncharacteristically. He lost the ball a few times, and I really do think that's, he's not quite sharp because he had, literally no preseason whatsoever. And I'm not as worried about him. The one thing I did like is that once Van de Beek came on, they were playing the ball real quickly, a lot of real quick passing and movement off the ball, and that led to the Van de Beek goal late, obviously. Too little too late. And obviously the call of the handball didn't help us, and then the save and the retake. I get that's the rule on the retake. It is what it is. I think when it's that fine a margin, whatever. The thing I'm concerned, I'm telling you this, if I'm playing striker, like today, if I was playing striker for Sheffield and we're down a man, every time I get the ball in the box, I'm going to chip it up at somebody's arm. Every time I'm in the box, I'm going to chip it up at somebody's arm. If all it has to do is hit your arm below the edge of your sleeve, if I'm in the box and I have three defenders around me, I'm just going to do what Palace did and chip it up at the defender's arm. I mean, if you watch the playback, there's no way that he was chipping De Gea. De Gea was completely on his line waiting, and there wasn't a teammate he could have been chipping it to. I don't know what he was doing other than chipping it up at Lindelof's arm. But you can't say that it's not a natural position to run like this. Every single one of us, one hand goes forward when we run. I mean, so, and look, it hit his arm. If that's the way the rule is, then I guess that's the right call. I'm just saying, expect a lot of penalties this year, because all your smart offensive players are going to, when they get surrounded by a couple of strikers, act like you're crossing it or chipping it to somebody and just knock it up at somebody's hand and go for a penalty. Anyways, I'll quit ranting. Mason, you got any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, man, it was good to watch. We predicted Zaha would perform, and he sure did. Ended with a 9.1 rating, man of the match. Yeah, United were nothing to write home about. Your boy McTominay, he actually did perform a lot of good passing through the midfield, but he just didn't seem to, I guess, link up on the proper passing. There wasn't enough chances created through him. Lindelof is easy to drag out the door at this point. I think you guys have already done that, but Palace showed up, and we're hitting on Zaha, but as a whole team, they showed up. They were absolutely fantastic. And then I've been following this closely as a Sheffield fan, but there are two teams currently in the running for young guy Brewster for Liverpool, who is almost definitely on the move now because of the addition of Jota. He wants some playing time. This guy's 20 years old, and Palace are in the running for him. Both them and Sheffield have offered. I believe Palace has offered more, but we'll see what happens. I would imagine Liverpool does right by the player at this point because, I mean, I love my club, but I don't see Crystal Palace or Sheffield United as a threat to Liverpool. So might as well do right by the player at this point.
No, makes sense. Can't disagree with you there. And the last thing I will go over just on this United Palace game, and it kind of goes back to what Mason said about McTominay completing a lot of passes. He did complete a lot of passes. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the right spot when he was completing those passes. And that's why, Matic gets a lot of crap for not being athletic and not covering a lot of ground. I don't want my center defensive mid to cover as much ground as McTominay covered the other day because way too often he was not in front of Lindelof and Maguire where somebody has to be. They are not a solid enough center back pair to have your center defensive mid all the way down in the other team's box trying to make passes and create. We need somebody sitting in front of that back pair, and Matic does that. He may not do a lot of other things, but he does that and he protects them. You see United had 76% of the possession to 24, over 3 times the ball. But again, when Palace had it, they attacked. When we had it, we knocked it around the back and took our time and didn't really do a lot. 700 passes to 225, 17 shots to 14. But you see they had more shots on target. They were just more clinical. And I think, some of that finishing is being in form and probably not having much of a preseason for us didn't help that either. But Palace played well, and Zaha, like you said, he always plays extremely well. McCarthy and MacArthur are a very good midfield pair, so I can't take anything from Palace. They deserve that game, and they would have won it with or without that ridiculous handball call. Go ahead, Todd.
So pull up those stats again real quick. And this is a direct comparison because I'm talking about our manager versus yours. Like, these stats are what you wanted other than the final score, right? So you guys don't have Jose anymore, and you don't play the counter as much as you did. You play with the ball. You want to have accurate passes, but that clinical stuff there, like, that's the part where I don't understand it. Like Crystal Palace did a really good job without the ball. Like, possession of 24%, and they still get 3 goals. That's wild, right? And that is, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's the chosen one's style of play, right? And falling to that counter, like, that's the part where I really think that Lindelof needs to have either a better CDM that can be athletic and cover that distance, or you have a center back that's not Lindelof that can cover it himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing I'll add, like you said, the finishing one great. Greenwood didn't start. Dan James did. I think we all know Dan James isn't going to start a lot of games for anybody that's winning the Premier League anytime soon. He's a good young player. He needs to develop. He needs to come off the bench late and run at people who are tired. He's not going to be, winning us a lot of games. We should have had Sancho or, Greenwood at that position. But, when Greenwood's not sharp, when Rashford's obviously still carrying some kind of injury in his back and isn't healthy, we don't really have that elite finishing. Martial didn't get a whole lot of the ball until after Van de Beek came on. And so, I agree. Just not enough, a lot of possession, not enough clinical finishing. And at the end of the day, that was kind of the deciding factor. So a tough day to be a United fan, but, I'm not quite as big a panic mode as a lot of United fans are today. I don't think we need to sack Ole or do anything else crazy. I do think I'll say the same thing I've been saying all summer. We need to sign Sancho, a center defensive mid, and a center back at a minimum. And we've already got Van de Beek, so that would be 4 total. That's not a bad offseason. So, anyways, we will move on to the Arsenal, who had another good showing, a 2-1 victory over West Ham. As always, Mr. Aubameyang played extremely well. He didn't get anything that's going to show up in the stat sheet, but, you know, I do not think Lacazette and Keita, I think it was. Who got that other one? Yeah. I don't think they score without Aubameyang pulling the attention away and the link up and the quick passing in the box. They just look phenomenal. Ceballos came in and played very well. We had discussed him in our Arsenal special. And Gabriel played another solid game of defense. Could have got a handball. He didn't, so that was fortunate for him. And, you know, Arsenal's playing well. I think they're heading in the right direction. Mason, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, I got a few things on this one, actually. I predicted Holding would start. He did. And it is his fault that goal was allowed in. That defensive – I mean, I was happy to see him playing, getting those run-ins, but I remember watching it was a fast break. Gabriel had his man covered, and Holding was on the wrong side of his man. I mean, that's all there was to it. I discussed their tactics last week, and I talked about how Aubameyang was really playing the position of a wide striker more than a winger. And I said he was relying on that overlap from the back every time. You didn't see it this game. It was completely different. Instead of seeing that back, which is we have Saka shown here, instead of seeing them overlap, Aubameyang actually stayed out wide and they overlapped on the inside. So they cut in, and you saw many crosses from Aubameyang. He actually played the left winger role. I don't know if that was a West Ham strategy. I don't know if that was just spicing things up from Arteta. But literally exactly what I told you was what they were doing. They did the opposite the very next week. So Arteta is changing week by week. It's really remarkable what he's doing with this club. I will say there was about a 25-minute stretch where they looked like they were horrible. West Ham had them on their back heels. West Ham defended very well. I mean, credit where it's due. They didn't play a horrible game, but Arsenal were the better team, no doubt.
Absolutely. Todd, you got anything on this one?
I feel like I'm supposed to say no comment talking about these teams regardless. But so the first goal, so like I don't understand how you could have Aubameyang and Lacazette, and like the stat came up during the game that they have only been on the field at the same time 55 times. Like, that's crazy to me. Those two link up really, really well when they're on the field. The first goal, I don't understand camera angles anymore. It seemed like I can't say his name. Aubameyang was offsides a little bit on his ball, but the ball back to Lacazette and Lacazette putting it in the goal. Like, that's a great. If they weren't wearing Arsenal gear, that would be fun to watch, right? I'm not supposed to root ever for Arsenal, and I'll probably get comments here in a second about saying anything good about Arsenal. But credit to West Ham that they didn't just lay down right then, because Antonio's goal, I mean, like, he worked hard for that. I enjoyed watching that. I also thought that this was the game where I thought there were two different like big fouls from West Ham to Arsenal where they didn't get called, and we're seeing stuff in other games where like it's not that big a deal and we're seeing red cards. We're not supposed to ever complain about refs. We're supposed to just watch the game and be okay with it, right? But like there's some stuff where when I watch games, even when it's teams I don't want to say anything about, I'm just really confused on who trains the refs on what they see. Is it just, all right, we're going to figure it out as we go? Like, that stuff just kind of bothers me. But as far as Arsenal goes, another weird thing about it is just seeing Willian in that Arsenal jersey. I used to always enjoy watching him play, but now since he's a Gooner, I just can't. Man, why'd you do that? I'm supposed to help Chelsea. I'm supposed to dislike Chelsea too, but I really started to like Willian whenever he was given Pulisic the ball, right? So, yeah. I'm curious about what the comments I'm going to get from the Little Rock Spurs Club is now.
Hey, never hurts to be honest. Never hurts to be honest. We see what we see. I say good things about Liverpool when they do good things. I say good things about City when they do good things. It is what it is. No point in lying. We are where we are. All right. So that was Arsenal West Ham. Listen, Arsenal has had a good start to the season, 6 points out of 2 games. Can't complain. And they're looking strong going forward. Well, this is going to be the part of the show that Todd really enjoys. Nice 5-2 victory for the Spurs. As we mentioned before, it's always sunny in Tottenham, as you can see on Todd's shirt. Me and Mason mentioned it last week. The most underrated player in the Premier League, Heung-min Son, 4 goals, right on cue. It's like he watches our show or something. It was just an amazing performance when you get to see quality goal scorers like that do things like that in a game. It's just really fun. And listen, speaking of quality goal scorers, Danny Ings had a couple on the other side. He's another quality goal scorer. So, just a really fun game to watch. Harry Kane had a nice goal and a few assists. So, really fun. I'll quit talking and let Todd gush and gush and gush about how great his club looked, and he can have fun with it.
So I'm still when I watch this game, I have never, I don't know. I've never seen a coach from an opposing team not make an adjustment. After the second goal that Sun scored because we outran their high line, why would you not scream from the other side if you're Southampton to just drop? Because they didn't have anybody to match the pace of Son other than Walker Peters. But if they didn't have Walker Peters stepping up, who used to be a Spurs, just throwing it out there, they didn't have anybody to cover it, and he didn't have the center back help to support Son. It's crazy when you hear announcers say that Kane's not going to be happy because he had 4 assists and a goal, and they're happy that they got a goal. I thought that the handball in this game was absolutely I don't understand how that was a penalty, but great, cool. I do like Danny Ings. I do like the fact that he is consistently putting in the work. But I was excited to see the lineup that we put out, to see some of the new guys, to see Doherty, to see Højbjerg. I probably butchered their names. And I'm actually pretty excited about the partnership of Dyer and Sanchez. I was really worried about that partnership. I was really worried about Toby leaving us and Dyer stepping back in there. I think they did really great. I think that Davey showed up in a great way. I'm consistently to go back from the UEFA run that we had and not see Lucas Moura show up on the field like he did during that run. That's the thing that breaks my heart the most, especially when we have Bale showing up. Bale showed up, Son showed up. Bale's part of our crew. Son really performed. He said, "Hey, you're not taking my spot." Kane really did. He's untouchable, I believe, with the amount of work that he saw. I am worried about Lucas Moura, though. I think that Moura is a great hard worker, but I think some of the stuff from that Jose might be expecting, I'm not sure that the counter is what Lucas' play is for. I could be extremely wrong, and once again, I'm going to be looking at my Spurs group to see if I butchered that. But I'm going to raise the shirt one more time. It's always sunny in Tottenham. Son is great, and I was so stoked. Every single goal that he scored, screaming, especially the first one. The first one, that angle, how in the heck, as a defender for Southampton, can you see that happen and not expect your keeper to make that save? Son's just too good. That's my opinion.
He's phenomenal. He is phenomenal. Mason, what you got on this one?
Man, this one was really fun to watch. I can go on and on about Son. I think Mourinho is the coach for him. He is a counter-attacking player. The guy's pace is insane. His first touch is insane. His control is insane. And his placement on his shots is insane. It was absolutely remarkable. I think Southampton played very well. Other than what Todd just hit on with their defensive line, I think they actually played a remarkable game. they got that counterattacking Jose, and Son really reaped the benefit of it. I got a stat here. Hang on, where'd it go? We've got.
You got to believe in a team. You got to like a team that believes in what they do. I mean, at least they're
embrace it, man. If
it was like okay, they scored on us. We were pushing up high last time. Push up higher. Just scoot out a little further. You know?
We'll see, and I think that's been Jose's problem so far, and it's why I had Tottenham not doing that well this year because I guess I didn't factor in that he now has the players to do what he wants to do. Jose Mourinho is the coach that's always going to do what he wants, no matter what.
Doherty will be great.
Now he has the players that suit what he's going to do.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We got Son finished with a 9.7 rating. It's insanely high. Harry Kane with a 9.6 right behind him. And here's what's remarkable from Kane, not just those 4 assists, but he had 8 chances creating from the center striker position, which is pretty rare. You usually don't see that from a center striker unless they're doing that hold-up play and releasing Son like he did. I was really impressed with everything that they did. And, I can't say that I'm rooting for you, Todd, but it was fun to watch.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So we will roll into our next game. We won't spend a whole lot of time on this one. It was a 3-0 win by Brighton. Got an early penalty from Mape, and pretty much the rest of the game, Newcastle were chasing and Brighton were just possessing. Brighton were defending, and hitting them on the counter. It was really fun to watch, Mape and Connolly get that interchange. I think Lamptey's a quality player. He went off hurt, unfortunately. I hope he's going to be okay. I think Newcastle will continue to get better. Unfortunately, my boy Maximus St. Maximin got hurt, so we'll see how healthy he's going to be, as did Lewis, their left back. So they have some injuries to get over. About all I have to say about this game. Either one of y'all got anything on Brighton Newcastle? I
can touch on it. St. Maximin definitely gave up that first PK. I don't know if you saw that one. That was all on him, and I love, and I do it too, even as a player myself, I'll get up and say, I got the ball. That's literally not a rule. It's never been a rule. It doesn't matter if you get the ball. If you commit a dangerous tackle and you sweep the leg from behind, it does not matter that you got the ball first. He fouled him, and it was a deserved penalty, and it was just the onslaught continued from there.
Yeah, it just feels like it should matter when you're the defender and it happens to you, though, right? You're like, but I got the ball. I hear you there. All right. Well, we will roll into what was, I believe, the game of the week by most standards. Unfortunately, it got a little interrupted by a red card, but, it was a fun one to watch. Look, Liverpool bounced back, played a lot more solid. Salah is Salah. He had a lot of good passes. Mane got on the score sheet with a couple of finishes, of course, because I didn't have him in a fantasy lineup this week. And, their back four played a lot more solid. It obviously got a little easier once Christensen had the red card for a tackle that any NFL team would have been proud of. I don't really know how he thought he was going to get away with that. And I think you'd definitely rather be down a goal than down a man with a have to play against a team like Liverpool. I don't really know why he made the decision he made, but it cost his team a win. And it was a really fun game to watch up till then. And, I really enjoyed watching it. Liverpool had obviously more possession because they had more people, they had more shots, and they got the win. Anybody got anything else on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, Daniel. I did not think this was fun to watch. I thought Chelsea played deplorably. I was horribly upset with whatever they were doing. I mean, it literally felt like pickup soccer. Like if I went to my guys and was like, hey, let's play out of the back. And then they were like, okay. And that was the whole tactics. That was all that was discussed. They had this weird plan to play out of the back and no real implementation of it. It was so bizarre. That they did create a lot of chances from long balls. I'll say that. I mean, that was clearly what they were trying to do, but it was just highly ineffective. I thought last week that we were going to see more of of Chelsea moving forward. Last week they sat back into a set formation. They did the same thing this week. They're just trying to release Timo and Kai Havertz, and Mason Mount got in on a couple of them, and then that Jorginho penalty take was just absolutely atrocious. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. Chelsea were awful. As much money as they've spent, they need to get it together, because they can't continue to play like that and succeed the way that people are expecting them to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it was one of those games that, you know, we all kind of looked forward to. We just didn't see what we thought we were going to, you know. And I don't know what with Chelsea. I don't know why you have N'Golo Kante on your team if you're not going to play him as a holding mid. He's one of the best holding mids on the planet. When you try and turn him into a winger or an attacking mid like they seem to be trying to do, he's not quite as effective. So I'm really not sure, you know, what they are doing and why they are doing it that way. But you know, it's definitely not gonna help him a whole lot to keep playing N'Golo Kante out of position. So, Todd, do you have anything on this Liverpool Chelsea game before we move on?
So yeah, I don't understand what Christensen was thinking. I can understand a defender taking down somebody in the last 10 minutes that way. You know, like, okay, we only have 10 minutes left. My guys can hold for 10 minutes. But in the first 10 minutes, what are you thinking, man? Like, I don't get that. I don't understand it. Probably
It was
never
bonehead
will.
move.
Cause that, and like him standing up like he did, like, I'm just doesn't make any sense. The
How
other thing I'll
dare
say
you
is that
protest that? How dare you?
like as far as Chelsea is concerned, like, I'm really disappointed that Pulisic wasn't in. I was disappointed that their transfers that they got, as far as the Ajax guy coming in, like that's a crew that I didn't think that Lampard was going to come in last year and do what he did last year, and I didn't so I was really excited for this match whenever it got scheduled, and the idea of them doing good things. So for them not to have all their aces in, that kind of bothered me. But also, once again, I'm not supposed to talk about Chelsea. I very much like what Klopp does. I very much like him bringing the heat no matter what. Very much like what Klopp does. I heat no matter what. But watch Chelsea.
All right, I think we're having a little technical difficulties with Todd there. We heard most of what he said. He had a very funny video. It was like him stuck with a cup on his mouth for most of the time he was talking, and it was great. But no, we could hear everything he said right up until the end there. Listen, it was a fun game. You know, I think Mason's is a little salty because of what we'll get to here in a minute. But I had a little more time to process since my difficult weekend happened. So I think Mason is still in the hadn't reached the acceptance part of grieving yet, but it's okay. Next game is Leicester City and Burnley. Once again, Leicester City looking like Leicester City. You know, I think Harvey Barnes is going to be a difference maker for him this year. He was somebody who came out last year and really played good at times, and I think he's going to do some good things for him. Jamie Vardy's still Jamie Vardy. Their young wing back Justin is a good player. Had another good game. So Yanku's solid in the middle, and you know, Pope is a good keeper, but he's not good enough to stop everything. So, you know, just a little too much from Leicester. We'll check out the stats. As you can see, Leicester had 68 possession to 32. Not a surprise. You know, they had completed a lot more passes more accurately. Burnley got more shots. They weren't really extremely accurate shots. And at the end of the day, not much that's going to trouble Mr. Schmeichel outside of the couple they got from Mr. Wood and Mr. Dunn. So fun game, enjoyable to watch. Mason, you got any thoughts on this one?
Jamie Vardy didn't score, so I guess Leicester going down. That's all I got on that one, man. It was pretty weird to see 4 goals and Jamie Vardy not there.
Yeah, you're not going to see too many of those from Leicester. Normally, if he doesn't score, they don't have a good game. But can't complain with 4. So can't complain with 4. Todd, did you want to get in on this one before we move on to the next one? All righty. So we got time for Mason to really. Oh, you want to talk on that one, Todd? Your video is doing something a little funky.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you on audio. Your video is just a little weird.
All right, I'm just gonna hit stop video on that. Then the computer's overheating on this. Yeah, on the Leicester game, like, blatantly once again, referees just need to throw that out there. Rodriguez has a hit on somebody in that game where I do not understand how he gets up, and it's not a card. Right, Rodriguez hit. I'm trying to remember who it was, but he went studs up and smacked somebody late, and it was just a normal foul. Like, how do you call that and not pull something out of your book on that?
No, absolutely. It was a pretty brutal one to have not gotten any kind of real punishment for it. So yeah, it was fun game. You know, Leicester's always tough. They just play solid. They know what they're doing. It's nothing fancy, but you're just not going to beat them very often if they're on their game. So we will go on to the next game of the weekend. This is going to be the part where Mason wishes he was taking a bathroom break. And all I will say is that it was not a red card. It changed the complexion of the game. You know, when the attacker starts the arm fighting and grabs the defender's jersey first, and then the defender grabs the attacker, and they're kind of pulling back and forth. If anything, you can call it a foul. It's really hard to call it a red card and change the entire complexion of a game. But I will go ahead and throw it over to Mason and let him give his thoughts.
I'll try to give an unbiased opinion here as best I can. This is Sheffield United are obviously pretty salty playing Villa after their last matchup, where they had a goal that went over the line, wildly over the line, and it was not counted. Everyone and their grandmother could see it, and VAR didn't catch it, ref didn't catch it, and they've given no real explanation for it. So Sheffield are obviously pretty upset about that. So they come into this game ready for some more, and what do we see in the 12th minute is a first, a straight red off of, a simple tussle. The keeper was coming out anyways. It started in midfield. And I mean, they didn't even make it to the box, and they said that it was a dog-so, which for those of you who don't know is directly obstructed goal scoring opportunity. And I mean, it's a yellow card at absolute worst. I'll admit that Egan was winning the tussle, but as Daniel said, the attackers started that fight. And what was so infuriating to me as a Blades fan was hearing the commentators say how Egan should have been in a better position, as if that was justification for him receiving a red card. He wasn't in great position, but in no way does that mean he should get a straight red for getting into a tussle with a player while going down for the ball. It was just absolutely remarkable to hear the commentators go in like that. I mean, and most people will agree that was way harsh. It was interesting what happened after that. I mean, 12th minute, we got to move on. Chris Wilder actually pulled David McGoldrick, one of our strikers, put in Ampadu, who's a young center back that plays for Chelsea. Blades have him on loan this year. Kid seems pretty solid, but they stuck him at center back, and they actually moved Chris Basham up to center midfielder. Took the commentator.
And sorry to interrupt you. That wasn't the injury, right? That was just tactical, huh?
It was just tactical.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, go ahead.
And then it took the commentators a remarkably long time to figure out that Chris Basham was actually playing center mid. They kept talking about how, wow, this defender's all the way up in the box. And I mean, normally, yes, that's what he does, but he was clearly playing center mid moving forward. And he actually ended up drawing in another penalty himself in the box on a pass from Ollie Burke, who's that young striker that they got in the Callum Robinson deal from West Brom. I think this kid's the missing piece. He played exceptionally well as the lone striker. I mean, talk about getting baptized by fire in that system. I think Ollie Burke is absolutely the guy that needs to be in that game with us. But I mean, back to that card, you know, he was fouled in the box, just like the tussle was. They're going to call dog so, and they ruled a double jeopardy call, which the guy did not go for the ball. He kicked Basham's leg out from under him, and of course, Emi Martinez, fantastic keeper, made a great save. I was upset Lunny took it, but Lunny actually took it. It was a great penalty. It was just a better save. I mean, that's all there is to say about it. At the end of the day, I was really proud of my Blades. 10 men for, you know, from the 12th minute on, and they fought and barely lost. Villa should be concerned that that's all they can muster.
Yeah, I'll throw in on that I am blown away that you go to straight red for the Blades defender and then not like I don't understand referee rules. I don't understand soccer rules. If like I know that if John Pinto was watching, he would quote the rules and tell me exactly what it is. But all right, rules or no rules. If a guy is fouled as hard as your Blades striker was fouled in the box, and the other guy was fouled outside of the box like that, far away, I don't understand how one's a red and one is not. The other one's not a red. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. That was the softest red I've ever seen, and yeah. Also, the guy who took the pen should have put it in the goal.
Yeah, and listen, I think the shot was pretty good. It was low, it was hard, it was towards the corner. It was a really good save. I think the keeper did a really good job of getting down and keeping his feet on the line until that, his foot came off the line right at the last, right as the ball was being kicked, and he timed it pretty good to stop it. So, it's a tough one, man. It was a tough one. You get a penalty when you're a man down, you really got to put that in. And you really felt like once they got the penalty and it was saved, that it just wasn't going to be. I think I texted Mason that at that point. That like sometimes it just doesn't seem like it's going to be your day. You get a bad call from a ref, you get a red card, you get a penalty, then it gets saved. Sometimes these things happen. Mason, you got any final thoughts on this one before we move on?
If you're not a fan of Chris Wilder, you should be because of his post interviews. He does not sugarcoat anything. So here's a couple quotes after the game. He said, he's Graham Scott given a yellow and you're waiting for VAR to come on and it doesn't. Is there anyone up there? Are they asleep? And that was regarding the penalty that Emmy ended up saving. Here's regarding Egan's red. I don't see how anyone can give that, how anyone at Stockley Park can give it. Why doesn't Graham go have a look at it in the monitor? The Premier League directive is that referees are going to use monitors more, and it's not happened once today. And last one, my interpretation of the double jeopardy rule is that you have to make an effort for the ball. He hasn't. There's no way he's gone for the ball there. No doubt about it. Target should have been sent off.
Yeah, you can't complain about somebody who tells the truth. Go ahead, Todd.
Do you think he gets fined for that? Like, don't coaches have something to where they're not supposed to talk about referee calls like that?
He hasn't yet, so I'd be curious if it happens now. But he has never sugarcoated anything, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit, especially after that game. He also had a remark that was something along the lines of maybe I should go to a referee class, but then again, I'd rather do something better with my off days.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. All right, so we will get to the final game of the weekend, and then we'll go over some of the comments from the YouTube stream. So Man City, this was a good one to watch today. Man City was Man City. Wolves are always going to be scrappy. They're playing a little different now that Diogo Jota's gone. They moved Podence up as to kind of more of a striker instead of being in the hole. It was kind of like a mixture of Moutinho and Neto kind of playing in that number 10 with Neves as a holder. Adama Traore moved back to a wing back, which I think took one of their best attacking threats further away from goal and wasn't extremely beneficial for them. But at the end of the day, Manchester City or Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne's Kevin De Bruyne. And, that midfield of Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri and Fernandinho is just solid, and it's going to be hard to beat them. Phil Foden seems to have bounced back from the Icelandic model incident quicker than Mason Greenwood. Maybe Greenwood had a little more fun than Foden did with him. Who knows? But Foden came out firing, and Greenwood came out barely playing. So big ups to Foden for playing through this difficult time for him when everybody's looking at his history and his past and trying to take a shot at the young man. Is even though it's Manchester City and I'm supposed to hate him, I'm kind of glad that he came out and played well and scored, because I think everybody's been a little harsh on him. I mean, I would go for an Icelandic beauty queen, and I'm not as young as they are, so I can't hold that against anybody. But at the end of the day, 3-1, City was the better team. Mason, you got anything on the City Wolves game?
Seiss gave up that quick pin. He performed so well against the Blades last week. So it was interesting that he fell so hard back to earth so quickly. I still think he's a great defender, but he's not going to keep up the talent that he had against the Blades. Gabriel Jesus, I don't think got his first shot on goal until like the 50-something minute. It was insane. And they didn't need him. The whole time he was just making these dummy runs and pulling people away. It was remarkable, but he ended up getting his in I think stoppage time, just sticking with it all the way. You're right. I think them pulling Adama back maybe was a tactical move. Maybe they were trying to defend against Man City's onslaught. I'll give De Bruyne his due where, whenever I can. He played great, as you said, but he also got megged on that goal. It was a sweet one. But other than that, like you said, Man City's going to Man City.
That they are. Todd, you got anything on this one?
So my favorite quote that I saw on the group today was Traore should be suiting up for the Saints tonight. Like, I don't understand. I'm going to keep saying I don't understand when people do silly things. Why would you make a switch that is such a mismatch? When Traore is up top, he cannot be matched by any, unless it's Van Dijk. There's no one that has his size and his pace that you can do that. So I guess I understand a little bit of the let's make a tactical move to defend a little bit of the speed that City has, clog up some of those holes. But in the same way, you're going to compact City if you're attacking them. Because I think that Traore closer to the up top would have been a whole lot better than what they did with that. So, but also –
and I'll let you finish real quick, but I'll agree, man. And the thing that I really, got frustrated with is that when Traore gets down on that wing, it always, not only does that wing back covering, but one of the center backs has to come, a holding mid have to come, and then there's that room in the middle for Jimenez, and that's how they, got their goal they got. But I think they would have had a lot more opportunity instead of, and you don't want to invite City into your half. And when you go with 5 defenders and you're pulling your 2 wing backs kind of back, you're just inviting City to attack, and they're too good. They're going to score if you do that. You're better off putting them under pressure and going at them and, making them defend and play under pressure. And with Traore running at people and putting them under pressure, I guarantee you Traore is going to win a half dozen penalties this year, if not more, just because you can't body him in the box and he's going to outrun you. So, what do you do? But no, I totally agree with you, Todd. Go ahead and finish.
But when you're Guardiola and you're Man City, you've got so many options. I think they're gonna miss David Silva, and the middle of the park for Man City is the question mark that I have. So De Bruyne is great; he's fantastic. But when he doesn't track back, that's the part where I'm worried about it for them. Or not, I'm not worried. Sorry. I'm not worried for any Man City, anybody ever. But if I was a manager on the sideline, that would be where I'm asking questions. Because Fernandinho is great. He does good things. But there's still some middle of the park questions for Man City. But it was a great turnout. I think that I still want to ask, the coach of Wolves or the manager of Wolves to say, why did you do that? Like, and why did you not make the switch? Like, same thing with Southampton. Like, if you saw it and you didn't see success in it, why didn't you make the tactical switch in the middle of the game? It's not that difficult to make.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point, is that once you see that City is staying in your half and staying on the attack, and you're really not getting much of a chance to counter. And when Traore is starting so far back on that counter, because he's out wide, even if he's faster than people, they're going to be able to outrun him back to goal because they're already in the middle of the field. So I just really think they shot themselves in the foot taking their best attacking weapon in terms of creating. Now that Jota's gone, Traore is their best creator, and Jimenez just didn't get enough quality service. If he'd got a few more quality balls, he probably would have put 1 or 2 more goals in, and that would have been a different game. But yeah, no, good performance by City, and they're off to the good start. I'm sure they hoped that they had. Real quick, we'll go over a couple of the comments we had on the YouTube page. So back to the Chelsea-Liverpool game, just some questions about Kepa as a goalkeeper. I mentioned this in our first, in our kind of season preview show. I can't imagine Chelsea has spent all this money and they're not going to buy a keeper that's better than Kepa. There's still a few weeks left of the window. I would be shocked if Chelsea doesn't bring in an actual keeper that can help them compete in the Premier League this year. Kepa is obviously just not good enough. Another comment for that game, Thiago getting his first bit of action for Liverpool. He's a phenomenal player. I would have loved to have seen him at United, obviously, because he's a phenomenal player. We didn't sign him. And listen, that was my concern about Liverpool after seeing them that first week, because Milner's getting older. Henderson had a lot of injury trouble at the end of last season. They were going to need a little bit of help in that midfield. And now with Thiago, they have one of the best on the planet who's done it at the top levels and has the experience, and is just going to solidify them even more. And then you have Diogo Jota helping up front, so that if Mane or Salah go down, they have a little bit of cover. So I think they did some great business in the window, and it's reflecting on the pitch. Chelsea obviously still have to get a keeper, or they are really, really, really going to struggle just to be in that top 4, much less to compete for a title. Some Spurs question. How do you feel about Bale playing his first game for Spurs on the Man U game? Todd, I'll let you talk on that one too. Listen, honestly, I'm thrilled. I'm glad Gareth Bale is back. And I'm not saying that as like a smart ass that I think he's not good anymore and I'm happy he's playing against us. I think it's good for the Premier League when big players with a big name like that are playing. And I really hope the guy can find some form. I don't really want him to find form in his game against United, but I do hope that he comes in and is able to offer them something and brings some excitement to the Premier League and to that Spurs team. Todd, what are your thoughts on that?
Like I said before, like I think that I'm worried about Mora with the return of Bale, but that's a great problem to have, right? When you're worried about somebody because somebody's coming in, great. As a Tottenham fan, oh gosh, we're getting somebody, we're signing somebody, but also the return of Bale. He's got great history. He's done great things for the club. From what I understand, it was I want to go home, not just I want to go away from Madrid. So I was pretty excited to see him. I mean, he's rested, right? He's not done much. So.
If nothing else, his backswing's phenomenal on the golf course. So one other question about Spurs was about Reguilon and kind of how he could help you guys at the back. Do you have any thoughts on Reguilon sharing you guys up on defense?
I don't know a whole lot about that guy. So, and I haven't done my research. I wish there was another Spurs supporter who had. I don't know a whole lot other than he's a Madrid player that came with Bale. So, yeah, when we talk about our defense, I hadn't seen Doherty play until this weekend. I thought that yellow on him was a little bit harsh. I'm happy to have more options. I miss Trippier a whole lot. Glad he's doing well at Madrid or Atletico Madrid, and yeah, Yeah, I don't know anything about Reguilon. I'm sure.
Yeah,
one of
he's a good player. You know, he's played both at left back and he can play some at left center back. I think Doherty's going to be phenomenal for you guys because of Jose's system and getting down on the wing. I watched him a lot at Wolves last year. I enjoy Wolves. I enjoy watching them, and I had Doherty and Jimenez on my fantasy team last year, so I watched a ton of their games. And Doherty's just, I mean, he's one of the best wing backs in England, and he will be great in Jose's system of counterattack and whipping in crosses. So y'all will be good there. And that's something Reguilon can do as well. Listen, he's played quite a bit at that left back. He can play at left center back. And I think that's going to give you guys that flexibility where you can go back 4, back 3, back 5, and he can kind of play as the left of a back. You know, he can be the left center back in a back 3. He can be the wing back in a back 5. He can be the wing back in a back 4. He's going to give you some of that flexibility that I think will really help you guys through the season. So those were the last of the comments we had. Either one of you guys got any final thoughts before we get off here? All righty. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Todd, you got anything? Looks like you came off mute real quick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure you want to end it this way, but come on, you Spurs.
Hey, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. We got to support our team. So hopefully we'll see a better weekend from United. One thing we will do before we get off, let's just run through
Both
the
United.
couple of games for next week and just see if there's anything we want to talk about real quick. Kind of the big game of the week that I see is that Man City Leicester City game, and then Liverpool Arsenal on Monday. I would say, look, Man City looked very good yesterday. I think Leicester might get their first loss of the season coming up, against that Man City team. And I think that it's going to be a tall order for Arsenal to get a victory over Liverpool the way they're playing. Arsenal really need to get a win, but at the end, I see Liverpool coming out on top of that one. Any of y'all got any thoughts on any of these games for coming up this week?
This is going to be foreign to most people, but that Sheffield United and Leeds United game has a lot of history behind it. Shout out to Jez Rogers. I have a lot of respect for that club. And Sheffield and Leeds have had a lot of history in the lower leagues together. They've played each other a lot, and it's always a good matchup. So be on the lookout for that one. Obviously, I'm hoping my Blades can actually defend against the high scoring Leeds at this point, and hopefully we can actually net some too against a supposedly botchy defense.
Yep. Todd, you got anything on these games?
Yeah, I'm gonna root for Liverpool, obviously. And then the other one that I'm looking at is Everton Crystal Palace. Both of those teams coming off of strong performances. Like I'm curious if Zaha only shows up against Man United, and I'm also looking for what Hamas can do off of the build-up from this past week.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I think whoever wins that game between those two teams is really going to put themselves in a position to finish in the top 8 this season. I do think we're going to see a surprise team get up there in that top 8. I think it could be Everton. Palace looks strong as well, especially if they hold on to Zaha. So I think that's another game worth watching as well. Well, thanks for joining, guys. That is all we have this week. We will be back later this week with a couple of Chelsea fans to do a Chelsea season preview. And look for that towards Thursday or Friday. And then we will be back next week to do a recap of week 3 of the Premier League. So thank you guys for joining. It's not soccer, it's football. Appreciate it.